I'm Scott Weatherly. Welcome to 20th Century Geek. Welcome back, listeners. Hopefully you've been enjoying 20th Century Geek's Summer of Geek. We're 4 episodes into it now. It's 4 episodes in. We've had end of pop culture in the 20th century, 90s cartoons, and then we got dark with video nasties. So we're lightening the tone this week, and I've got a fellow Britpod scener on the show. From Stacey's Parlor, I got Stacey herself.
Hello.
How you doing?
There were so many times during the things you were just saying that I wanted to make noises or be really irritating, but because I know how to podcast, sort of, I thought, do you know what? I'll wait until he actually says who I am. So then I just went, hello, like a tit.
It works. That's it. You've got to be introduced. At least it wasn't like a Kevin Smith introduction. Sort of 4.5 hours later, and I'm still doing an anecdote about something.
And I'm just snoring quietly.
Yeah. Give me a call when you're ready. I'll pop back on. So today we're going to talk about something that I've enjoyed for years, but is a definite passion for you. In fact, you podcast about it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, we are. I'm so excited. I could honestly talk about the Ninja Turtles all day, so you might have to just tell me to stop at some point. Just be like, shh, Stace, shh.
Calm yourself. That's it. Yeah, calm down, dear. Calm down, dear. It's just a turtle.
Yeah, it's just a ninja. Ugh.
Yes.
But it's good though, isn't it?
They are great, considering what they started out as and what they really are. They shouldn't work, but they do.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the thing for me is that I came into the Turtles. I didn't read the original comics because I was but a wee bairn, as the Scottish might say. Probably not. When the comics came out, so I had no concept of that original situation.
Yeah.
So I was all in on the cartoon. I loved that thing. Of all the cartoons that I say I was obsessed with when I was a kid, this is the only one that I actually remember anything about. So I have got a shocking memory. And so there's loads of times when I've been like, oh, that 90s Spider-Man cartoon, that's my favourite when I was a kid. And people are like, oh yeah, what episode did you like? And I'm like, the one where he swung around. He done a spider, I don't know. But the Turtles, I have very vivid memories and can quote some episodes verbatim. I love them so much.
But that's it. But the 80s cartoons, when they were late 80s, I mean, for me, it's I have the same for the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And for years there was stuff, and over here they didn't really release it for such a long time. But then when it was all on Netflix, I wept like a baby. I was just I'm so happy. So I know what you mean. So to sort of Ninja Turtles, have they got all episodes available in the UK? Is it a box set or anything?
I don't believe so, and that makes me a bit of a sad panda because the Americans have got a really lovely box set that comes in a turtle van, and I'm like, oh,
no way.
Yeah, see, everybody wants that. It's amazing. But I do have some DVDs that I bought. It was mainly I've got to admit, I don't think I've seen all of the original series because I didn't realise it had run for 10 seasons.
Yeah,
until I was well into adulthood. It went on forever.
Well, I checked it. Just for a bit of this, I researched just to look into sort of the different iterations of the cartoons, and they did not realise how long it ran for. Because I'm I can remember 20 episodes, but.
See, the ones everybody always remembers are some of the really early ones. One of my absolute favourite ones is when they get, and I can't remember how it happens. I don't know if it's something to do with a gem or it's something to do with a pizza. It's probably the latter. When they all get shrunk.
Yes, yeah.
And there's a really brilliant bit where they're going through the sewers on a bar of soap, and there's this weird sewer snake chasing them, and it's just absolute nonsense. I love it so much. But it was one of those shows that. For me, I was a typical nerd when I was a kid. I had no friends, and I was a teacher's pet, and I didn't used to play out with the kids on the street. I used to just like read books and stuff. In fact, I remember one time when I got really upset because to punish me for something that I'd done, my mum took my books away from me, and I was like, no, I was like screaming at the ceiling, why me?
I will take these educational tools away from you.
No, she was like, you can't have fun reading books anymore. And I was like, oh, what am I supposed to do now? Like, be outside or play video? So like the Turtles were, I think it was Donatello that sold me on it, because he was like, at the same time as being a smarty pants, he was also just as funny as the other Turtles, and just as like ninja skilled. I mean, I say that now, having watched some of them as an adult, they barely do any fighting in it, like, ever.
I think it's what the same with anything. I think for years it's like I thought the A-Team were badass until you go back and watch it and you realise they're actually not. That I could probably take a lot of them. And so they're a bit disappointing. But Donatello is the biggest badass.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely the best thing that's ever bested, and I'll fight you if you try and tell me one of the other Turtles is better. Because you're wrong. You're just wrong. I have this argument ongoing with my podcast in a half shell co-host Duncan, because he's a huge Leonardo fan, and I'm like, he's the actual worst one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But the thing is, I mean, I'm a Raphael fan. I think I sort of, you sort of relate to them. I see myself a little bit in the Raphael mould. But Raphael's got
full
size. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just every now and then I just rage out and sort of, especially when you got to the film version. But when you look at them, like Michelangelo's got swinging nunchucks, Leonardo's got katanas, and Raph's got his size. Like, they've got proper cool weapons, and Donatello's got a stick. Yeah, he's still hard.
Yeah, he knows how to use that stick. I'll tell you, that sounded pervier than it was intended. I love Donatello, like, straight from the start, and I was like, see, it is possible, right, to be smart and also cool, but I can't do ninja stylings, so I couldn't actually apply that to myself in any meaningful way. But yeah, like, the thing about the Turtles, and I don't mean this as a pun, but it's going to come out that way, is that it's like an evergreen franchise. It's one of those things that there's been so many different versions of, and you never see people like chucking a wobbler about it like they do about, if anybody changes a hair on Superman's head and everybody loses their absolute minds over it. You're like, calm down, guys. He's killed Zod before, but anyway. That's such a big bugbear for me when people are like, that's not my Superman, and I was like, well, then several other versions aren't, chill out, you don't have to watch this one.
That's it, yeah.
But like the Turtles have been through like everything, because the cartoon bears absolutely no resemblance to the original comics, except for the fact that there's 4 turtles and they've got weapons. Like that's it, really. I mean, because I didn't realise until I started actually reading those comics when I was about 20, 22, something like that. That the Shredder like dies at the end of the first issue. And he doesn't come back. No,
well, the first film, like the 1990 film, is actually a closer representation of the comics.
It really is. I love that film.
Yeah, it's great. I have to say, just recently, I got the Steelbook Blu-ray.
Oh, snazzy.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's all special. Yeah, but the other thing as well, I've having read the comics since, sort of, you learn all this stuff and you read them, these are pretty cool. But then you find out they're actually almost like taking the mickey out of Frank Miller's Daredevil.
Yeah.
And they were never taken seriously, but they've spawned like a massive franchise.
Arguably, probably a bigger one than Daredevil.
I would agree with that.
I mean, I really love the Daredevil comics at the moment, but he's not the greatest of. So.
Yeah. The Netflix series are good. I enjoy those, but.
See now. Okay, tiny tangent. Right, I'm going to go off on one about the Daredevil series. I absolutely loved the first series, but I genuinely think the second series did not need any of the stuff to do with Elektra, like, at all, because the Punisher stuff was really good, and all the stuff with Matt and Foggy was really good. I love them pair together; they're so adorable. I kind of ship them. But anything with Elektra just made me want to slap her in the face. I was like, you're the most annoying thing that's ever existed in a TV show.
No, I agree. Even her motivations always seemed a bit like iffy. You know, so it was always like, I'm going to drive you to be the best you can be. And she sort of just constantly turned the screw, but I never really understood why. And then they killed, spoilers, then they killed her. And I was a bit like, all right, move on.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And I'm going to be annoyed when they inevitably bring her back, because I don't care.
Well, apparently she's, you know, there's images showing that she's in the Defenders series.
I don't know how I feel about that series, because I still haven't finished Luke Cage, and I haven't watched any of Iron Fist, but I don't care about him in the comics, so I don't think I'm going to bother.
No, I finished Luke Cage, and I actually really enjoyed Luke Cage. I think there was it got quite good actually, but it's a definite slog, like compared to some of the others. And yeah, I haven't even started Iron Fist. It's one of those where every now and then I'll come onto it on Netflix. I'm like, no, Rick and Morty's on here. I'll go watch something else.
Oh, mate, I could do a whole other episode about Rick and Morty.
Yeah. But let's pull it back to turf.
But let's rein it back in, Stace. This is your show. Jeez.
So the cartoons, what brought you in? So what is that your favourite iteration and cartoon wise?
That's a tough question. I'm stroking my beard. I mean, probably, but that might be rose-tinted nostalgia glasses times. Because I haven't watched many of the episodes in my adulthood, and when I have, I've usually been drunk. Yeah. So, like, let's put the turtles on, and then 10 minutes later, I'm asleep on the settee. I really like. I want to talk about this now. I really, really like the movie from the 90s, like the first live action one, because whilst I really enjoy the original comics and I really like the 80s cartoon, I think the 90s movie strikes a really good balance between those two things. So it's got like enough sort of serious fighty ninja times for you to be well invested in like the action and the plot. But then it's also got bits where like they're just idiots and they eat pizzas, and like Splinter tries to make a funny and he fails. Bless him. He tries so hard.
No, I agree. I love that film, and like I said, I think the best example is the fight in the antique shop.
Oh,
because I think the fight it's really good.
Okay, here's a Stace fact for you that's probably going to make everybody think I am the biggest loser, but I watched this film so much when I was a kid that I wore out the VHS, and then when I bought it on DVD when I was an actual like grown up person, the first time I watched it, so there's about like a 6 or 7 year gap from when I'd seen it before. The first time I watched it, I legit cried when they threw Raph through the skyline. I was like, oh, I'd forgotten this happened. And then there's that whole scene in the bath, and Leo's just there, like, oh my god, it stressed me out so much. But there is a thing in that scene that's ruined everything. It's ruined my life. So if you don't want this movie to be ruined for you, just like pause for like, just skip ahead like 30 seconds. But there's a bit in that scene where Raph wakes up in the tub and they're having a lovely hug, and then Donnie says, oh, it's a Kodak moment, and he leans back and he laughs. You can see the inside his suit in his mouth, and it's terrifying nightmare fuel.
No.
Yeah, you actually can. You can just like, and it's really black. As soon as you notice it, you're like, holy mother of pearl, it's terrifying.
Right, that's it tonight. I'm cracking out that Blu-ray, and in high def, I want to see that.
That's going to be nightmare fuel in high def, like, because I've only seen it like sad old DVD time. So now I kind of want to see it. But the first time I noticed it, like after somebody had pointed it out, I think I read it in like IMDb trivia, and I was like, that can't be true. Like they would absolutely have reshot that scene. And then I watched it, and I was like, oh no, there he is. Yeah. just right inside the turtle, but absolutely nightmarish. But
it's crazy. But the suits are amazing, because they're Jim Henson Studios suits, and for 1990, I think the puppets and the animatronics on those faces and everything, they're really good.
They are really good. I went to London Film and Comic Con a couple of years ago, and one of the guys, I think he was Michelangelo in the second movie, but I could be lying. His name's Nick Palmer. He was there, and he turned up in his full suit with the head. And because he was annoyed that you had to pay a base amount of money for an autograph, he was then offering people to have 3 photographs taken with him. One where he's fully Michelangelo
Yeah.
and you're just standing there. Another one where he's fully Mikey and you're both doing fight poses. And then one where his head is off so that you can see him.
No
And I
way.
was like, this is the best dude ever. But I only held that head for maybe 30 seconds to have a photo taken. And I was like, mate, this is heavy. Like, I don't know. Because they did some, like, really good fight scenes in those suits. I don't know how they did any of that. And he was like, yeah, like, we almost constantly, almost died of heat stroke. I was like, that is not surprising, because that suit looks rubbery as well. Like, it looks like an absolute nightmare. So I have to take my hat off to anyone who's inside, because it's just amazing what they were doing in those suits.
They must have been pouring sweat out of them things at the end of the day. I can't see them being breathable.
No, not at all. They've got, like, sort of like a weird lining on the inside, but it didn't look like the kind of lining that was going to really help you in times of heat.
Yeah. I'm sure that's it. I mean, if you were gasping for a pee or you'd been, out drinking the night before, those suits were probably not your friend.
Yeah, I imagine there's no such thing as out drinking the night before when your day job is, ninja-ing. Certain suits. Is ninja-ing a word? It is now.
I'm sort of wondering if that guy managed to keep... I'm assuming, like you're saying, he turned up with the suit. I mean, was it his? I mean, at Halloween, does he crack out the Michelangelo suit and wander the streets?
I mean, I kind of love the idea of him doing that and potentially just popping out of sewers places and ordering pizzas. Like,
I'm hoping he's stopped a crime. Is what I'm really hoping. Some muggers absolutely shit themselves and ran off, thinking, "Christ, the turtles are real."
Actually, I would love that. I would legitimately love that.
If I had a suit, that's what I would do. I would stalk the streets looking just to scare criminals. Not engage, because, I don't want to get beaten up. But...
Yeah, I've always wondered about whether or not I would go into Crime Fighter if I obtained some sort of, like, superpower or super suit. And my conclusion is always, no, you're a fraidy cat.
Yeah.
Like, you're such a wuss. You would never do this.
So I'm just thinking about the difference between them and that, because they got the later 90s cartoon, didn't you, which sort of was a bit more was similar to the film and kept all the elements.
Yeah. I didn't watch much of that. I keep getting absolutely murdered on the internet for having the Turtles podcast and never really having watched that cartoon. But I could not get behind the voice actors at all. And I feel really bad for saying that, because I realise that that's like somebody's job. And they, they probably put a lot of time and effort and stuff into it. But I just, they don't sound like the Turtles to me at all. And that's it. Sorry, go on.
No, well.
Well, I was just going to say, the thing is, for me, is that I'm a bit of a voice acting groupie. Like, I follow, like, all of them on Twitter. And I'm that person who, when you hear a voice in a cartoon and you go, do I know who that is? I'm like, oh yeah, it's such and such from Thingy Thing. Like, because I'm just obsessed with voice acting. I think it's kind of an amazing skill, and I'm a little bit jealous that I can't do it myself. Like, the closest I get to it is doing an impression of Strong Bad doing his Teen Girl Squad voices. I do a mean what's her face. But yeah, so like that really threw me out of that show, because I just couldn't like listen to them at all. And also April O'Neil wearing a crop top in a science lab, I'm not having that. That's a silly design, Bab. Like, put a shirt on.
That's it. Health and safety, love.
Yeah, you're wearing a lab coat as if to protect your clothes, but then you've got your belly out. Like, that's not something that's worth protecting. That doesn't make any real sense.
I'm going to come back to the voice actors thing, because I'm going to test you on a few things, or just question you on a few things. But have you ever seen, and it came out of that late 90s cartoon, I think it's called Turtles Forever? I've got a copy of it knocking about somewhere, where it gets proper meta.
Yeah. It's well weird.
It's brilliant.
It's like, I haven't seen it for a while, but I'm pretty sure, like, the story of it is essentially that Shredder discovers... Well, they all sort of discover at the same time, don't they, that there are different dimensions. And those different dimensions are just different versions of the Turtles. So Shredder decides, if I destroy, like, original Turtles, then I'll destroy all Turtles somehow. Science?
Yeah. Grant Morrison.
That sort of
That's what you've got to say.
comics logic.
It's a Grant Morrison plot, so it's kind of thing like that.
Yeah, it is a bit, but it's that was a No, I couldn't really get behind the voice acting in that because they didn't. It wasn't a union thing, was it? So the original '80s voice acting chaps did not do the voices of the '80s turtles who were in it, and it wasn't the same.
No, I mean it's good fun, but that's what I was going to say about the voice acting. That's what I was going to come back to. I remember watching it because I watched it not too long ago. Mm-hmm. And it's quite jarring because you're expecting certain voices, and then when they're different, I was a bit like, oh, that's not right. No.
Yeah, I mean that's why I had a bit of a problem with the fairly recent live action movie, the first one that came out in I think it was 2014. In that one, Leonardo was played by Johnny Knoxville, and every time he opened his mouth, I was expecting him to say, "And welcome to Jackass," and then throw himself down a hill in a shopping cart. I just couldn't accept that at all.
Well, that was
so weird.
When I saw that casting, and I didn't know who he was going to play, I just thought that Johnny Knoxville was going to do the voice of one of them. My automatic was, he'll play Michelangelo.
Yeah.
I don't know, just what I assumed. But so that didn't work for me. Those two films scare me anyway. You talk about nightmare-inducing.
See, now I actually really liked both of them. The only problem I had with the second one was that they actually don't really fight anything in it ever. Like if you watch it, you feel like you're watching an action movie, but if you watch it, a lot of the fight sequences are actually just them jumping over things, or jumping away from things, or jumping toward things. Like there's not an awful lot of actual. It's the same problem I had with the second live-action movie in the 90s, was that I think it was because of a bit of a sort of uproar from parents that, there was too much fighting in that first one. So in the second one, they never use their weapons properly. Occasionally they'll pick up a prop and use it as a weapon, I don't know, a string of sausages. What the F?
Yeah.
But, there's a scene in that film where they're all trapped in a net, and Leonardo has his swords on his back, and he still doesn't get them out and chop them out of the net. And I'm like, that's not even violent. And it just
they're just not very clever. They're just not very bright in that one at that point.
No, and they're the opposite of stealthy. That's number one in the Ninja Handbook, and the turtles are terrible at it. In pretty much every version of it as well. The ones in the suits I can understand because you're rolling around in giant, squashy, sweaty, disgusting suits that you can barely see out of as well. Yeah. So then you had these tiny eye holes that were just underneath the actual eyes of the turtles, which you can actually really see in some of the shoddier versions of the suits, like the ones they used in that absolutely awful TV show, The Next Mutation.
I was going to say that one. Yeah, I remember seeing the costumes in that were proper rinky-dink. They were sort of they were put together paper mache.
Yeah, well, a lot of them as well. They've got rags hanging off them. Raph's got a load of red rags tied around his knees and stuff. And I'm adamant that that's because there's holes in the knee pads of the suits and stuff, and they're just holding it together.
So throughout the episodes, they get more rags wrapped around them as the suits fall apart. Generally. Yeah.
At one point, his whole leg just comes off, and it's just a human leg. No, that never happens. But that would actually be really funny. But yeah, I didn't mind the new live action movies.
I think the second one is better than the first one. I love the fact that Bebop and Rocksteady were brought into it and done well. I thought they were fantastic as live action.
They were so good. I mean, the only thing, and I've always said this about Bebop and Rocksteady, even when I was a kid watching the cartoons, I was like, why does Shredder keep asking you to do things? Yeah. You're so crap. You always fluff it up. There's no real reason why anybody would think, aha, these are my two henchmen. I'm going to send them off to do this important thing, because they are just nightmares. Yeah.
Well, Shredder's got access to an entire ninja clan, in the foot. But then, then he uses two clumsy mutants instead.
He's got like all this Dimension X technology at his disposal because of Krang, but he's just like, I'll just throw this rhino at it. like that'll do. I'm sure it'll work.
Talking of Shredder, and this is when one of those moments when my mind was blown, and it was only in the last couple of years I found it out. And voice acting, the fact that Shredder from the original cartoon was voiced by Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, he's actually. I'm always a bit shocked when somebody who you don't expect to be good at something, and I don't know why I wouldn't expect him to be good because he's a good actor, but you know when you don't see them doing a particular thing. And voice acting, like, a lot of people think that if you can act, you can voice act, and no, you can't. Like, it definitely helps in terms of, like, delivery and stuff, but being able to, like, change your voice enough that you can sound like an almost entirely different, but, like, you know, Rick and Morty for me is the perfect example. I recognised Morty's voice almost immediately as being Justin Roiland because he sounds a little bit like Lemon Grab from Adventure Time, which is another Roiland character. But I had no idea for ages that Rick was the same guy because they sound like so different. It's insane.
Well, you do get people that are so good at it. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of the names. In Futurama, I use as an example of like the guy who did the voice of Bender. You go, oh yeah, it's the voice of Bender, but then I found out he's the voice of like 10 other characters in there as well.
Yep, and the guy who does the voice of Fry as well, Billy West.
That's right.
He's like 6 different people in it as well.
Yeah,
he definitely does Fry, and he definitely does. What's his name? Oh my God, Stacey, I'm having such a brain fart. The scientist guy who owns Planet Express.
Oh my God, your brain fart has extended.
Yeah. Oh crap! But he definitely does both of those voices, and they sound insanely different to me. So, like, kudos to anyone who can do that. And that's why I was surprised about Uncle Phil, because it doesn't sound like him at all. Like, he sounds like a genuinely menacing dude. And if you were to see Uncle Phil, you'd be like, oh, man, give him a cuddle.
Yeah.
It's like almost the opposite. I was listening to an episode of Turtle Power Pod today, and they were talking about an episode in which there's a mystical space baby for some reason. You know, turtles. And Uncle Phil can't pronounce the word diapers. He keeps saying diapers, like he puts an extra syllable in it, and that makes me so happy because it's so weird. I love weird little things like that.
Yeah, I think some of the... sometimes if you try to put a voice on, so sometimes there must be some things you just can't get your tongue around. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I did a sort of audition for a friend's cartoon that sadly hasn't happened, and one of the things she was asking me to do was to do like a giggle, but she also wanted it to sound like I had a mouthful of tentacles, and you would not believe. You would not believe how difficult that is. Spent ages in my room going like just an absolute sloppy nightmare.
Yeah.
Sounded so good.
That's as direction goes, that's it's a giggle more, but more tentacles. I want more tentacles and more giggles.
Yeah. She said like one of the lines she wanted was, "Oh hello, I'm just like you, but I can do this," and then she wrote in, "spews up a load of tentacles out of her mouth," and I was like. Right.
I'm quite sad this cartoon doesn't exist. I'm quite fascinated.
I'm gonna badger her until she lets me do it because I really want to do a voice in something. That's like my one goal in life. If I can get that around the internet enough places, I just want to do a voice in something. It doesn't matter what it is or how many lines I have to say. I could have to say just one word. That'd be fine, but I'd do it because I love voice acting so.
That's really new. Have it on your CV. I've almost there are things I want to do in life. When they Top Gear did star in a reasonably priced car, and you get to go on certain TV shows if you're a level of celebrity just on your way up or just on your way down, that sort of thing. Where I'm like, I want to get famous, not to get famous, but just so I can get on these other shows.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes. Doing a podcast, I'm like, I kind of wish I was like, Chris Hardwick Nerdy's famous. Not because I want to be super famous, but because then people would be like, do you want to do a TV show about this other TV show? And I'd be like, yeah. Yeah,
that's it. That's all
Nobody's
I want to do.
Nobody's going to ever ask me to do that.
No. I'm just, all you talk about the voices, you've reminded me of something I was looking at the other day. You've heard of Tara Strong?
Oh, yeah, she's amazing.
She really is. Like, I've got a 4-year-old daughter. So Tara Strong, I didn't realise until recently, sort of like is very prominent in her life. I mean, Fairly Odd Parents, Teen Titans Go, My Little Pony. Yeah, man, she's done a lot. She's really good though. But I didn't realise because she was Batgirl in the recent thing as well. Bloody hell.
Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. I wouldn't recommend following her on Twitter though if you've got a young'un. She does a lot of very exciting cosplay. Let's put it that way.
I'm just looking at the photo. I'm thinking, well, I can follow that. I just won't share Ellie. Yeah,
you absolutely can.
Yeah.
I absolutely love her in Teen Titans Go, though. I think Raven's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, she's. I was looking at her CV. She really put it out there. Bloody hell. So who are the voices? I'm just looking at the voice. So the modern cartoon then, the sort of the CG one. What are your thoughts on that? Have you ever?
Oh, I really love that show. Except one entire series just completely dropped the ball. Like, I was really loving it because one of my favourite things about it is the guy Rob Paulson, who is like one of my favourite voice actors ever. He did the voice of Raph in the original 80s cartoon, and he's now Donatello in the new one, in the Nickelodeon.
Okay, yeah.
He's so perfect. I love this version of Donatello. He's got a gap in his tooth and he's adorable. But yeah, the show itself is actually like really amazing. There's some really good like fight sequences and stuff in it. It's a bit more like the original cartoon in the sense that there's, you know, like weird mutant monsters in it. Like so there's like an episode with like Ray Fillet is in it, and the like Napoleon Boner Frog and all that stuff. Like, it's got all the weird stuff, but it's also got some like really serious, awesome, like fairly dark for a kid show moments.
Yeah.
But there was just one series where they went to space and I hated it.
Oh,
like,
really?
the only thing I liked about that series was David Tennant played Fugitoid, who's like this sort of, he's like an alien intelligence that transferred himself into a robot.
Oh. See,
really
that's the thing I always found weird. Two things. Firstly, David Tennant is now Scrooge McDuck. So
best thing ever.
I saw. Yeah, have you seen the trailer then for the new DuckTales?
I've bloody well watched the first 2 episodes.
Have you? Haven't seen it yet. I've seen the trailer. It looks very good.
It's so good. It's better than the original. I'm calling it now.
Oh, that's dangerous talk. That is.
I'm going to get the rage of the internet falling on me now, but I don't care, because I'm right.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Just going to say, do you remember Tailspin?
Of course I do.
Oh,
Friends
right.
for life, through thick and thin, another Tailspin. They always had the best theme tunes, the Disney stuff.
Yeah, I had them on. I was listening to the DuckTales intro music the other day on Apple and on iTunes, and you know, it sort of recommends the things. I was just panning through to all these sort of like Tailspin and all this other stuff. It's bloody brilliant.
Yep, absolutely brilliant. Rescue Rangers had a really good theme tune.
Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, Turtles had a pretty good theme tune.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not going to sing it here, but I do know all the words to it.
Well, the Nickelodeon like CG type cartoon has like a riff on that, so it's got like the same, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles bit in the middle, but then it's got like a rap as the verses instead.
How very modern.
I really love it, but mostly because it rhymes really stupid stuff and just like rambles a bit, because it's a little bit overlong. There's like 3 verses and it's like no one cares, like we just get to the pizza and that.
Yeah.
Like, that's all we want.
I'll just give it a go. I literally haven't watched the latest version, like this CG version.
Oh, you should. It's really good. It is really good. Like I say, aside from that one season where it was in space and everything just went a little bit tits up.
Yeah.
That's just my personal preference, though. I think it was just because they were just in space, just like it was just like a different alien each week, and I was like, no, I'm not interested in this.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, the Turtles do go a little bit. Like, even in the comics, like it starts in literally like street level, you know, as you would call a street level hero, and it escalates into sci-fi pretty quickly, usually.
Yeah. The Triceratons were one of the first, I think, aliens to appear. Aside from maybe they weren't called Krang in the old comics. They were called like the Utroms or something. I never know how to pronounce it. It was one of those things when I first started reading the comics, even though I'd seen the cartoon and there was loads of weird crap in the cartoon, like, I remember reading it and thinking, this seems odd. like this seems really odd, because like you say, one moment it's all like, you know, darkness and shadows and ninjas and, you know, family feuds dating back to feudal Japan times and stuff, and I was like, ooh, intrigue. And then the next issue, it's just like, I don't know, like a dinosaur guy, alien thing, like what ifs. I'm like, where did you come from? Did you ever read, I have to ask, the 90s Image Comics run of Turtles?
I've read some of the issues. I haven't read and nothing consistent.
Okay, if you can get your hands on it, and I'm pretty sure they're doing a coloured version of it at some point,
Ooh.
or maybe it's just come out. I don't know. I had a chat with Kevin Eastman on my podcast last year, and he was talking about it coming out. So maybe it's out already. I don't know, but it's because it was the 90s and it was Image. It was all like, extreme comics, extreme. And so, like, the opening to issue 1 is just like Donatello getting ripped to shreds by automatic gunfire.
What?
Yeah, he gets turned into a cyborg later. It is madness. And I genuinely don't know whether I should recommend it to people or not, because on the one hand, you have to read it to believe. Like, Splinter turns into a bat, and it's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
I'm going to try something this out. I do remember it. Like, it is something I remember. But I've never gone back to it. I'm going to have to find that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's nuts. And the best part about it is that the Turtles don't act like the Turtles in it at all. Like, because one of the very consistent themes of the Turtles is that they are, even though Raph and Leo are often at, loggerheads and whatever, there's always this very strong family vibe. Like, they're there for each other when they need to be, kind of thing. But one of the best things about the Image comics is they don't seem to give two shits about each other. There's like one amazing bit, and I think it might even be in issue 1, where like part of Raph's face gets like, I don't know if it's acid or what, but it basically melts and his eyeball's hanging out of its socket. And he looks at Leo and he's like, "Mate, is it bad?" And Leo's response is not, "Holy crap, we need to sort your face out. Where's April? Somebody get me, I don't know, like a steamed towel." Like, he doesn't do anything helpful. He just says, "Well, you won't be winning any most handsome man contests anytime soon." Just, and Mikey is a romance novelist in this version.
Holy crap!
His own apartment, and he writes romance
I'm
novels.
really like, I'm missing a beat here. I need this in my life.
Yes, I do think everybody should read it because it's just bananas.
But like you said, though, it's the franchise is evergreen because it goes through so many iterations. I mean, I'm just online now. I'm looking at the 2007, the TMNT animated film. I want to see what you think of it because I really enjoyed it. So you may end up just hanging up on me, but.
No, not at all. I mean, I think people seem to think that I'm a massive Turtles apologist and I will, watch anything and claim that it's good. But I'm not. The thing about that film is it's got a plot hole the size of Texas. But if you ignore that, it's actually a really funny, really interesting film with some really good action set pieces and possibly one of the greatest scenes on a rooftop that's ever existed in any kind of movie ever. Oh,
the fight! You're talking the fight between
Leo and Raph.
Yeah, when he's in the kit with all the helmet on and stuff. That's badass.
Yeah. That scene made me cry in the cinema because I saw it twice in the cinema and I cried both times because I get unnecessarily involved in movies. I cried at Spider-Man Homecoming, so there's not like a high bar for me to cry at a movie. But when I saw TMNT the first time, after they have that fight and Raph realises that he just almost killed his brother and he runs off, and then Leo gets kidnapped and he tries to chase down the van and he can't catch it and he just screams into the air and then like stabs his sign to the ground. I was like, oh my god! I knew nothing was gonna happen. Like they were all gonna be fine, but I still like legit burst into tears. I was like, oh, you poor guy.
It's a quality. I think it's a really good film. And again, I've got it on Blu-ray and the animation in it's really good. It stands up.
It's really lovely, and I did actually genuinely enjoy a lot of the voice acting choices in that as well, because I thought Splinter was great. I've forgotten the name of the guy who did it, but he was like a Japanese dude. So it didn't sound semi-racist. Yeah. Yes, there's this one scene, and it's like a throwaway thing, and apparently it wasn't ever intended to be in the movie. He just happened to do this in the recording booth, where he just sings this sort of like little song while he's walking into the kitchen, and he's pouring himself a bowl of cereal,
Yeah.
and it's just the most adorable thing. I love it so much. Oh, I'll watch that movie again now.
I'm thinking the same. I'm just looking at the pictures and going, oh, yeah, this was a really good film, this was.
It really was. I think it was because it had been quite a long time since anything had really... I mean, because I wasn't watching I can't remember what year it came out, but I want to say 2003, like the 4Kids Turtles cartoons. So I hadn't been watching that, so I hadn't really seen anything since the last time I'd seen the 90s movies, which would have been yonks ago. So when this came out in 2007, I was like chomping at the bit for more Turtles things. It's like, yes, get in my belly.
Yeah.
And it didn't disappoint. I think it's one of those movies that you have to not think too hard about the plot, because it doesn't make even a lick of sense.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, don't scratch at the surface, because it don't work. Yeah. But
I mean, there's a lot of films like that I enjoy, if I'm honest. Like, I don't. If a movie can entertain me with its visuals and its performances, then I don't think it really matters sometimes necessarily exactly what the plot is.
That's it. I mean, I literally had a conversation with a friend of mine, like literally last week, and we were talking about the Fast and the Furious films. Because I'm quite a big fan of the Fast and the Furious films, and he hates them. He's like, they make no sense. They're rubbish. Why would you do that? And I'm like, dude, The Rock is like punching his way out of buildings. Like he rips in one of them. Like he rips a minigun off a drone and uses it. How is this not entertaining you?
Yeah, I think in the most recent one, he was like diverting a missile with his bare hands whilst driving on ice. I was like, this is insane.
It is. It's brilliant.
I think I like those movies because I haven't actually seen all of them.
Yeah.
I think my tolerance for just like driving around things dramatically is pretty low. So I think having only seen like maybe 2 or 3 of those movies fairly spaced apart was a good idea.
I think that's the best way. You know what I mean? It's like, and I wouldn't recommend the first 4. I think stick with the ones later. They're as daft as balls, but they're hugely entertaining.
Sometimes I think those movies do better to just be daft, because if they take themselves too seriously, they're impossible to watch.
Yes. Oh yeah, I mean, at one point, like they are literally talking about Fast and the Furious in space at some point. And I'm like, I'm down with that. It's stupid, but do you know what? I want to see The Rock racing spaceships.
Yeah, that'll do me. I'd watch that. I've got a Cineworld card, so I can see it for free.
That's it. Yeah, I've got an Odeon Limitless. I'll happily I'll sit through it because if it's rubbish, I'll leave and go watch something else.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. One of the ones I was going to ask about, say, from a Turtles point of view, the comics. Have you read the IDW run that's going on at the moment?
I have, yes. I jumped on it from issue 1 because as soon as I heard it was coming out, I was like, yes. Because sadly enough, podcasting a half shell that I've been doing for, I think it's coming up on 3 years now, possibly. I actually used to do it about 5 years prior to that. And pretty much the instant me and my co-host at the time, Luke, started podcasting about Turtles things, like everything got cancelled. Like Tales of the TMNT stopped being a comic. There wasn't a cartoon on the TV anymore, and there was nothing being announced. They'd scrapped the plans for a movie at the time, and we were like, 3 episodes deep, we were like, well, that's probably the end of that then, isn't it? Like, whoops. So, like, as soon as they announced these comics coming out, I was like, oh my god, Turtles things, they are really, really good too. Like, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the first 15 issues in trade. And I do, they do like the deluxe, the big hardback books.
Yeah, they're lush, they are.
I do keep looking at them and thinking, oh, they look nice, they look tasty, I do want some of that. Because they were good. I mean, the first 15 issues, like first 3 trades, are really good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to... I don't want to ruin something for you, but I've got stories about things.
No, go for it.
Mostly it's just me crying on the bus, but...
just alone into a cappuccino.
Oh, I didn't even have a cappuccino. I wasn't even that lucky. Just crying directly onto my iPad. Yeah, I have a tendency to read comics on the bus because bus journeys are insanely boring. And there were 2 particular issues of Turtles that made me like proper bawl on the bus. I can't remember which issue it was, but there was a mini-series called Turtles in Time. Mm-hmm. And it basically, each issue, they'd sort of they were just bouncing around in time accidentally. And there was one issue that was set in Japan where they actually meet themselves as human children and their dad as a human guy. And they're like, oh shit, son. And what they don't realise until they've left to go... Well, they don't even realise at all, but it gets like sort of... the readers are shown this after they've left the area, is that them being there is what caused Oroku Saki to, like, kill them all.
No way.
I was just like on the bus, like, no.
Oh my god.
I was absolutely gutted, like bawling, like properly, but like contemplating calling into work. I can't come in. I'm distressed on the bus, like. And then the other issue was the one where they sort of killed Donatello.
Yeah. Now, tell me about that, because that actually came out of the blue. Because again, it was one of those times where I dip in and out of the comic, and obviously I check up on it, on comic sites and stuff. And all of a sudden there was an issue. There was one of the solicits was released. It was just the three of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things I have a bit of a problem with mainstream comics at the moment, and a little bit with TV and stuff too, is that they give away the farm like so many months in advance. Like, solicitations for things in a few months' time will tell you how like a current event is ending, and you're just like, well, what am I even doing? Spending my money on this stuff when you're just going to tell me how it ends.
Yeah.
Anyway. But I don't know how they did it, but they managed to keep it like under wraps until the issue came out, pretty much. And then I got like 6 text messages that morning from other friends who read it that were like, "Have you read this? You need to go and buy this comic and read it like this instant." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went and picked it up after work, and read it on the bus on the way home, and legit cried, because it's possibly one of the best, like the most well drawn and coloured, horrific thing I've ever seen in a Turtles comic. Because I don't know if you've seen the art in the Turtles books at about that time. I think it was like issue 45, I want to say. Yeah. And the artwork, sort of like the designs of the Turtles are a bit more like the Nickelodeon ones, so they're not as like...
They're a bit more rounded, aren't they? They're
a bit more rounded. They're a bit taller. They're not like... Because originally they were quite squat and they were all pretty much the same size and shape. And without the colours, you haven't got a blues bloody clue who was which. But so in this, they're a bit more... I don't want to say cartoony, but that's kind of what they were.
Yeah.
But the colouring in this issue, so basically they've got this plan. I can't remember the details because it was like a couple of years ago now. But they've got this plan that involves 3 of the Turtles and some other people that they know going off and doing a thing near the Technodrome. And Donnie had to be remotely at a computer doing things.
Right.
Computer science, I don't remember. Well, like, Bebop and Rocksteady turn up, and in the comics... Bebop and Rocksteady are not useless, bumbling losers. They are, like, they're still a bit stupid, but they've got, like, mega brute strength. Like they could snap me like a twig kind of strength. He's like, I'm a rhino, I'll kill ya. And so they go to where, like, the little lab where Donatello is, and they start having a scrap. And the thing that struck me about it was, as the panels in the comics went on, the backgrounds went from this like sort of creamy colour, and they started getting more yellow, and then they went orange, and then the more Donatello was getting beaten up, it was getting like into the red, and then there was a panel where, I can't remember if it's Bebop or Rocksteady, one of them takes a sledgehammer to the back of Donatello, and there's a panel where his shell is just shattered, and he's screaming, and the background is bright red, and I was like, what am I looking at? what am I even looking at? Had a total meltdown on the bus. It was a nightmare. But it was so well written that I was like desperate to read more, because even though you know they're not going to kill off one of the fucking turtles, like they're not going to, that's not how comics and things work. But the last panel, well, the last page in the book was like, all of the turtles getting back from their mission, like, yeah, success, oh shit. And there's like, it's each of the individual turtles' reactions to it that like got me, because like Leo's got this look on his face as if to say, right, what are we going to do to sort this out? And Raph looks like he's about to punch someone's face to death.
Yeah.
And Mike's just like openly bawling, and I was like, oh, My heart. I couldn't cope with it at all, but it was so good. Like,
Well,
I felt bad saying it because I was like, that's my favourite character, and he's possibly dead. But that was a really good book.
yeah. But the thing is, it's like you say, if it's, issue 40 in the, those mid-40s, if you've been reading it and you've also got, legacy, you've already got history with it. If you've been invested in those characters for like 40 plus issues, like it would be, and if it's done well, like, I can see why it would be devastating. You get so invested in these, like. Got to ask, did he come back?
Well, what they did at first was they couldn't fully save him straight away.
Yeah.
So they basically put him in a medically induced coma and transferred his consciousness into Metalhead. Don't know if you remember Metalhead from the cartoon. He's basically like a turtle robot that Donatello makes. So they transferred his consciousness into Metalhead, and then there was a whole like sort of existential crisis where Metalhead was like, he didn't want Donnie's consciousness to leave him because he was like, no, I'm a real thing now though. Like, I don't want to die.
Oh my god, just get deep.
It got real grim.
What happened to the 80s and 90s Turtles where they were like having pizza fights and...
Oh no, and some of the pizzas they were eating were just disgusting.
Anchovies, man. They introduced me to anchovies in the worst possible way.
I mean, I absolutely hate anchovies anyway. The idea of putting that on a pizza just seems like sacrilege to me. Yeah. But it was like some of the weirdest stuff that they chose where they're like, I don't know, pepperonis and ice cream, that'll do.
Yeah.
Oh, let's have a whipped cream pizza. No. Like, what does that even entail? Does that have a tomato sauce base and then cheese and then whipped cream? Like, that's so gross.
Caramel. It's caramel sauce. No tomato sauce, caramel sauce, cheese, and whipped cream. There you go.
It's the cheese that's putting me off because in my head it's got to be like mozzarella, and that's just not going to work.
So it shows, like I said, they've done everything. They've been comedic and they've been like pretty dark. But yeah, I have to say, right, I've been away from the Turtles for a while in a sense of, I haven't really read the IDW comics or anything like that. I haven't watched the cartoons. I'm going to get back into it. I'm going to give them a try again.
Oh, you absolutely should. I mean, if anybody listening out there takes anything away from this episode, it's that, like I say, I'm not a big Turtles apologist. There are some Turtles things that I think are terrible. For example, We Wish You a Turtle Christmas, if you've ever seen that, or The Next Temptation, which I never want to speak of again.
Yeah.
Mona Lisa is not a thing. I'm not having that. No, it was Venus de Milo, wasn't it? I'm not having it. I'm not having it. It's not
that confused me so much when you watch that. You're like, she's got a shell on the front, but it appears to be boobs. I'm not sure, like, how that works.
My least favourite thing about her, and there were a lot of things I hated about her, but my least favourite thing was the fact that her sort of like weapon was like a plait that was made out of her bandana, because they obviously just didn't want to give a girl like actual fighty weapons. So they were like, let's give her mind powers so she can just stay out of the fight, and then if she does ever get into it, I don't know, she can just like, I don't know, flick a bandana in someone's eye. Like, it's so crap.
She's got long hair, but it's a bandana. She'll flick it around in a sort of modelly kind of way. Yeah, it wasn't good, that film. I think I've only watched 2 or 3 episodes and it's awful.
The thing that always bothered me about them introducing her, and I understand that from a marketing point of view, it was probably like, we want to get girls into Turtles, whereas I was like, girls are already into Turtles, you don't need to do this. But like, the thing that really bothered me about her was that one of the this is going to sound so creepy, but one of the things that I have often thought about, and I don't know why, is like how sad it's going to be for the Turtles that they're just going to grow old and die on their own because they can't possibly start a relationship with anyone because they're like mutant turtle things. And what bothered me about her was I kept having this really horrible idea that they'd end up like having a scrap over her, and then she'd have no say in whether or not any of them would get. Like, they were all just going to be like, no, this one's mine. It's the first girl we've ever seen. I want it. And I'm like, no, that's really like predatory. I don't like it.
Some sort of some sort of arranged marriage, but with Yeah.
I mean, because like Leo and Raph were already sort of like making eyes at her when she first appeared in the first like couple of episodes, and I'm just like, no, I'm not having, like, she's not for you, she's not for you.
Hands off.
Like,
This is weird.
yeah, it's so intensely creepy.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't well thought out, I don't think.
Not really. No. I mean, the thing about Turtles is, and it's a thing about stuff that I've never quite understood, is the idea that girls can only be into it if there's girls in it, and that boys can only enjoy something if it's mostly boys in it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that is absolutely not true. Like, most of the people I know that really like the Turtles are girls, because it was just a fun show. It was like a fun, silly show we used to watch on a Saturday, and they'd eat silly pizzas, and like, I don't know, April would do something daft. I tell you what though, right, here's the thing. Go back and watch any episode that's got Irma in it. Do you remember Irma? Like,
Was she April flatmate or something, or?
Yeah, she was like April's best mate at the Channel 6 news station, and I don't really know what she used to do there, because she didn't seem to ever actually be doing a job of any description. But she is so hungry for D. Like, it is. And I'm not, and anything she'll have, like, there's one episode where she starts dating a robot. She's constantly trying to make out with the turtles. She's like, hey, April, will you give me their number? She's like, no, you ravenous beast.
Didn't she look like Velma? Did she look a bit, I'm going to Google that. Didn't she look like Velma or something?
She does a bit, but she's sort of, somehow she's infinitely frumpier. She's got like this long blue, like really big thick necked turtleneck jumper, and then like a really long frumpy skirt. And I'm just like, but she just spends the entire time like, is there a man in the room? Where can I talk to him? Where is he? Can I have his number? Who are you? Do you fancy a shag? You're like, oh no.
To be fair, you got to admit, that's some confidence though. I don't think I'd be able to. The goal to do that.
I definitely wouldn't, because I see new people and hide in corners. So
yes, yeah. Yeah, so the cartoon, yeah, that's right. Because was it Vernon? Was like,
yeah, the guy with the massive conch.
Yeah, like April's helper, but was like his cameraman, but was completely useless.
I always thought that was a really weird choice in the 80s show, in that if you look at most of the humans in that, other than April and Irma, they are horrific looking. like disgusting looking, and not just like slightly ugly people that you might actually see on the street, like disfigured and stuff. Like, they're all awful. It's such a weird direction to take a show in. I don't know if it's just like easier for animators to just like fart out really ugly.
Oh, it must have been. Because those things were doing like, I mean, they were all animated in like, Korea, weren't they? They were sort of like just bashing out. So whatever was easiest to draw, I think. Sort of, we've got this spare ugly face that we need, so just
slap it in a Turtles episode. I've got a bit of a challenge to you and your listeners. If you do go and watch any episodes of 80s Turtles, if you can get your grubby little mitts on them right, if you're the kind of person that likes an alcohol, I've got a drinking game for you. You have to take a shot anytime one of the turtles' voices comes out of a different turtle's face. A lot more often than you'd expect. Every cowabunga, every pizza, and every time April needs saving from something or turns up just to do exposition. And I'm telling you, that happens at least once an episode, where they just happen to switch on the news and she's there like, oh, here's this important thing that you need to know for later. It's brilliant.
I think that was a part of like that cheap animation from like because I'm pretty sure that happened in the real Ghostbusters. I'm sure I can remember, like I say, watch it on Netflix. There's an entire scene where Egon's talking to Pete Venkman, and there are times when the lines are coming out of the wrong person.
It's really creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, it blows your mind. I'm taking that challenge though. I'm gonna get the tequila on hand.
Tequila himself.
And see if I can survive an episode.
You'll get through an episode, but I reckon many more than like 2, maybe 3 tops, and you'll be mullered. Yeah.
Wasted on turtles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you seen, just we'll wrap up with just a couple of the crossovers. I just wanted to, recently, because they're an IDW property, they've been sort of crossing over with other things. So they did a Turtles crossover with Ghostbusters.
Yep.
which was...
I did indeed read.
Did you like it?
I did. Uh, this is where I'm going to sound absolutely terrible now. I did, but I'm not a huge fan of the IDW Ghostbusters comics. And I don't know whether that's because I wasn't that into the show when I was younger either, because the ghosts in it are legit scary and I'm a wuss. I think I've mentioned once or twice, I've got a phobia of E.T. That's the level of wussiness you want. I cannot look at E.T. like ever. So yeah, like I don't know if it's just because I'm not as familiar with the characters and whatnot, but I liked the idea of it, and I liked the turtles in it. And the artwork was lush because it was by, I want to say Dan. No, I think it's pronounced Shane. Yeah, see, I think it's pronounced Shining. You know, like it's one of those.
I knew we were going to say something wrong. I knew we were going to pronounce it wrong.
No, do you know what the thing is? I think it's pronounced. You know how Matt Groening does The Simpsons?
Yeah.
He spelled his name the same way that Dan Shining does, so I assume it's pronounced that way, but I actually don't know. I just made that up. I just thought I was being clever, I guess. I'm sure somebody on the internet will correct me, because that's what the internet's for, I think.
It is. No, yeah, you're not allowed to get a single thing wrong.
I'll get stuff wrong all the time. I am a nightmare. But yeah, no, it was good. I think if you like the Ghostbusters comics, then you wouldn't be upset with the turtles encroaching on it, because it was a really interesting story. But I think if you're not that into like one or other of the properties, it might not be for you, I guess.
I mean, I came at it from a Ghostbuster, because I collect the Ghostbuster comic, and I thought it was cracking. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Good little twist. The other one then really took me by surprise, because I thought, I'll give it an issue and we'll see. Was the Turtles and Batman.
Okay, which one are you talking about here? Are you talking about the
Good point.
I was going to say proper one, like there's a... like, what am I talking about? The one that's got, like... Is it Freddie Williams art?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because there's an even more recenter one that's kind of like Batman animated series style crossed with Nickelodeon Turtles. So that was really good. I really like that. The Freddie Williams one, I think it started out really strong. I really loved the first issue of it, and again, it was another one where I liked the idea of it, but I didn't like how it panned out at the end. I don't know how much I want to say, because I don't want to ruin stuff for people.
Yeah.
But I felt like the ending was a bit sort of just like throw in every villain we've got, because we've got to have the Joker in it and that, and like it was a bit ham-fisted.
It did feel like, just in case this is the only opportunity we get to do this, I'm going to throw everything at it as much as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt I agree. The ending. What was the other one like then? Because I never read the other one.
The other one's great. It was because I really like the Nickelodeon style show anyway, because it appeals to my sense of humour, which is like somewhere between really highbrow and fart jokes, like, which is why I think I like Rick and Morty so much. Cause, but it's it's good. It's really good, and it leans very much towards the sort of fun side. So it's a bit more like. Did you ever watch Batman Brave and the Bold?
Yes.
To me, it has that sort of feel to it, story-wise and tone-wise.
Right.
So I really enjoyed that, because I think that's really fun.
Yeah, that is really good cartoon, actually. And that's, again, it's quite sort of all ages, isn't it? But there's like stuff in it you can, that's, like you say, you probably wouldn't. You could show it to your kids, but there's jokes in there that they're not going to get.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the only version of Aquaman that I appreciate is in Brave and the Bold. I think he's wonderful.
He is brilliant in that. I'm sort of hoping that, that's how I see Jason Momoa's Aquaman.
Do you know? I said to Rich, if he says the word outrageous in the Justice League movie, I don't care what the rest of the movie's like. I'm giving it 5 stars. I think that'd be the absolute best.
Yes, I'm hoping that's what Joss Whedon's doing. He'll bring in an outrageous.
I hope so. That would actually legit make my day, because I've got no expectations of that movie, despite the fact that I thought Wonder Woman was absolutely amazing. Like, nothing about any of the trailers has got me even slightly hyped for Justice League, but I'm like, I'll go and see it, because at the worst, it's a bit crap.
Yeah.
Like, oh well. So I'm really hoping that I'll go and I get wowed by how amazing it is and how outrageous just Jason Momoa is in it.
I can't get hyped, because I think, like you say, if I get hyped, I think I'm gonna get upset. But yeah. I just want a Superman film with an actual Superman in it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that, because I'm a person who didn't mind Man of Steel. We've gone so off topic. Hope your listeners don't mind. I didn't mind Man of Steel. I don't think it was like the best film ever made. It's definitely flabby. It could do with shaving down a bit, but it seemed, and it was too dark. I don't care what anybody says. It needed some colour in it. But at least Superman in it was doing Supermanly things occasionally, like rescuing a bunch of people on a boat, or like, you know, he was actually doing stuff until he started just like absolutely wasting an entire town. But like Batman versus Superman, for me, they sort of elevated him to this like godlike status when we'd never seen him be, you know, much more than a guy who'd saved a couple of things and destroyed a heck of a lot. And it made no sense to me. And then, of course, you know, Jesse Eisenberg starts wandering around being a knob.
Oh, like, don't.
What a performance, eh? I don't know what movie he thought he was in, but it definitely wasn't the one that they made.
Yes, yeah.
Madness. Absolute madness.
There are scenes in that. I'll tell you the one that really bothers me the most. And I remember watching it in the cinema, and I did question myself whether I'm going to leave. Is the moment he starts trying to insert a Jolly Rancher into that guy's face.
Oh.
And I'm just like, oh no one's coming out of this looking good.
I'd actually forgotten entirely about that bit, because I haven't seen the film since I saw it in the cinema, and I regret seeing it in the cinema actually, because we actually went to see it at there's a place in Birmingham called the Electric Cinema that everybody should go to. It's like one of the UK's oldest cinemas, and it's only got 2 screens, but it also has a fully stocked bar, and they serve cake, and they serve absinthe, and it's amazing. But when we went to see Batman vs Superman there, they got Superman and Batman cocktails, like, special for the day, so I had one of each, and that was the best thing about that movie. And one of them was a gin cocktail. I don't even like gin. That's how crap that movie was. I was like, give me 6 of them. I don't even care.
That's it. Just keep them coming. I'll get through this, whatever it takes.
Just hook it to my veins. It's fine.
Right. So I think we're going to try and we will try and wrap up. We will wrap up on a Turtles note. So
yeah, let's.
For the listeners then, and for anyone who's new to Turtles or young or whatever, if you're going to try and get them into Turtles, what are you going to recommend?
Oh, I would say for kids, definitely the Nickelodeon show, because it's funny and the animation's delightful, and it's really, really good, really good. The only problem I have with that show is that halfway through they had to swap out Leonardo for a different voice, and it's really jarring, because they went from Jason Biggs to Seth Green.
Wow, that is a change.
Yeah, you couldn't be more different voice-wise if you tried, to be honest. And they actually tried to like plough over it in the show as if to say, oh, his throat got injured in a fight. Like, no, your throat doesn't get injured to the extent that you just suddenly sound like Seth Green.
Yes, yeah.
Like, that's just daft. But the thing that's great about that is that it does have a lot of the stuff from the comics in it too. Like, they do go to the house in Northampton for a while and stuff like that. So it's definitely got stuff in there for the adults, but it is so much fun for kids. And for adults, I would say the IDW comics run. Partly because it's, you know, recent-ish, so it's not going to be that hard for you to get hold of, or stupidly expensive, and it's also amazing.
I'm definitely going to give that a go. No, I'm definitely going to track down and extend my collection on that.
Yeah, you absolutely should. I mean, even if you only get up to, like, issue, I don't know, 46.
Yeah.
But you absolutely have to read that issue, because honestly, I think it's... Because one of the things about comics that strikes me a lot is that there's so many comics that I read where they're trying to make you feel, you know, like something could genuinely happen to this character, but you absolutely know 100% that it can't. Like, nothing is permanent in comics, even death.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can be reading a Spider-Man story and you're like, it's fine, it's Spider-Man, like, nothing's gonna... But that was the first time in ages where I'd read a book and I legitimately thought, they're going to off him. They're going to off him in the middle of the thing, and I'm not going to have my favourite turtle. Have a little cry.
Refusing to turn the page over, refusing to read that last page.
I actually told Kevin Eastman in the interview that we did that he has to stop trying to kill Donatello and stuff. Because I was like, it happened in the Image comics. It's happened a couple of times in the Nickelodeon show. You know, you just stop it. Just stop it. What are you doing? He was like, all right, I'll put in a good word.
Brilliant. Okay, well, before we rock off then, one more thing. Where can people find you on the social medias and for the podcasts?
Oh, mate, I'm all over Twitter like a rash on a cheap hooker. So you can find me there at Stacey's Parlor. That's Stacey with an E and Parlor with a U. And the podcast is popcultureparlor.podbean.com, or, you know, iTunes and Stitcher and all those other sort of pod catching places where you can go. Just do a search for Stacey's Pop Culture Parlor, and that's where you'll find me and my name ramblings about how much I cry at stuff.
Awesome. This has been another great... I'm really chuffed with how this has gone, actually. It's been a really good chat. We've covered so much, like, we've gone all over the place, but in great fashion.
Honestly, I could keep going for about 6 hours on the Turtles if we had the time, but...
I'm thinking, I'm thinking I'm going to have to drag you back and we're going to do another Turtle special, I think. We'll do... I'll try and do it a bit more, sort of, we'll see if we can do it a bit more laser focused. And we might even pick a...
I'm sorry, have you listened to my podcast? I don't think laser focused is a word you could use for me.
Well, I said that, and as I said it, I was thinking, all right, well, we'll try, but...
What we should do is we should somehow get together and do the drinking game and live podcast it.
I think we should. I think I'm going to do that. We're going to pick... We both get to pick some episodes of the 80s cartoon, and we have to see how long it takes us to get through a bottle of vodka.
I can't do shooters of vodka. You're insane. It's Sambuca. I love Sambuca.
All right. Well, so you've got to man up now, Stacey. This is it. We're talking. This is big boy time now. This is.
Sambuca's it's well alcoholic. Right. Let's just do absinthe and be done with it. That's the top you can get for absolute nonsense. So.
Okay. So we can both blame the Ninja Turtles for us going blind.
Yeah, we'll start hallucinating turtles in the room. Like what?
To see you weeping over a cushion on the floor, like, why, Donnie, why?
If there's ever an episode that even slightly threatens Donatello, like, I'm gonna have a... There was one recently in the Nickelodeon show, you know, where they vaporised him into the air, and I was like, what is even...
There's a lot of Donnie hate going on at the moment.
I don't know what that's for. He's clearly the best one. Anyway. Okay. I could do a podcast just on that.
Yeah, just arguing about that. Ninja Turtles. I'll throw a colour bandana into the ring, and everyone's going to argue about why that's the best turtle.
I would absolutely win that. I can prove it scientifically.
We shall do that sometime.
Let's.
Right, Stacey, this has been fantastic.
Thank you for having me on. It's been good fun.
No, it's been great, and I'll message you soon, and we should catch up, and we should do this again, actually.
Yay! Well, I'm game for talking about most things. The only problem I've got is that, you know, the shocking memory. So I need like full warning so I can actually, like, you know, read things and
do some research and stuff. Awesome. Okay, we'll speak soon. Okay, so that was Stacey from Stacey's Parlor. Getting together to talk about Ninja Turtles, voice acting, Netflix series, and a lot of other bits and pieces. Great fun, that chat, and another great entry to the Summer of Geek. So, what's coming next? Next week, the final entry. It's been a bit hit and miss as to which order they come in, but final entry, last but not least, I'm going to be speaking to Kim, my friend Kim, about 10 years of Tarantino. So I'm really looking forward to that. So if you want to get in contact with me, find me on the Twitter at 20th Century Geek. Email me 20thcenturygeek@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook under 20th Century Geek. Instagram, follow us, find out what's going on, look at some funky photos, 20th Century Geek. And if you want to get in contact, any suggestions, anything that's coming up, let me know. Happy to have any feedback. Find us on iTunes, on Stitcher. Subscribe, leave a 5-star review, or not 5-star review. Any review is welcome. Any feedback is welcome. So, guys, have a great week, and we'll catch up next time.